Thank you so much for joining me today. How has the rehearsal process for Vanities been going?
It's been going well. Um, yes, it's been going well. The first week felt very fast as we did a stumble through at the end of it, or actually at the beginning of the next week. Um, but now we've just been cleaning stuff up and it's going well. And I feel like it's been fun diving into these characters and, um, yeah, figuring out what makes them tick throughout the show as we get older, which is part of the plot line. Yeah.
Okay, so what is the story of Vanities the Musical? Because I'm not familiar with this one, and so it's always good to kind of, listeners want to know what it's about. So I'm actually going to ask you, what is Vanities the Musical about?
Sure. It's about a group of three friends, and we follow them from high school to college to late 20s to adulthood, and the way their friendship grows and changes throughout that. It also starts in 1963 and goes all the way to 1990. So you get to see how they all respond to these culture shifts. Some get more conservative, some get more liberal. And it's really about what connects us in the end. And I guess the power of friendship. That sounds cheesy, but I think it is about the power of friendship.
So this is just like Charmed.
Oh my gosh, I love Charmed. We don't have magical powers, unfortunately.
I mean, the theater is the magical powers, though. The singing and the coming together, that's where the magic is.
Yes, totally.
So for Caroline, you're playing Joanne. So who is she and how does she fit into the narrative of Vanities?
Yeah, Joanne is one of the three girls in the show. She's very quirky. She's just lighthearted and fun, but she kind of has a little bit of a judgy side to her. And all she's ever wanted to do was be a wife and a mother. And I connect to her. Like, I love her. She's great. Yeah, she has this ideal life that she strives to pursue every day, and she has a boyfriend who we see her get engaged to, and comes to find out that her life isn't as perfect as she always thought it was, and she realizes that it's always been that her two best friends have always been there for her, and even though they may change, they may grow up and see the world in different ways, they're always there for her. And yeah, she's a beautiful character, and I feel like she has a lot of growth. She's just kind of quirky at the beginning, but then, has a full come to realization moment. And hers happens way later than everyone else, but doesn't take away from that.
Absolutely. As long as they have that moment, as long
exactly.
as... So what do you feel like Joanne's motivations in this musical is? Because you kind of mentioned, she wants to be a wife and a mom. And so that seems like a very central motivation. But what do you feel like her motivations are?
I think, honestly, her motivation is to get married, have a family, go live out in the country. Like, her whole life is not about herself. It's about becoming someone for someone else, and something for someone else. And I think the whole time as she's growing, she has this picture perfect world that she wants, and that's truly what drives her to make every single decision. And
and you can get lost in that, as a character, as a person, you can get lost in trying to please everybody else and
exactly
pursue that dream.
And I think you said that perfectly. Like, she's always trying to please someone else. She's always trying. She's looking up to Kathy, and she's looking up to Mary, and she wants to be with them. She's always trying to fit into a group of three. And you know how there's always that, like, two, but then there's always that third on the out. She's always wanting to insert herself and be in there. And she's, always just kind of straggling a little bit behind. But at the end of the day, you love her, and she does get there. But having that ideal life is kind of what motivates her. And she comes to realize that that's not always what it's made out to be. The grass isn't always green on the other side,
For sure. Catherine, you're playing Kathy. So who's Kathy within this narrative?
Kathy is, I feel like she has a big arc throughout the show. I don't feel like she's the same throughout necessarily, but she starts out as a teenager who's pretty type A, who likes everything to be organized and perfect as possible, and is a natural leader, and kind of leads the two girls in the cheerleading group in the beginning of the show.
Okay.
And toward the end, I feel like she has this journey of finding herself and finding out how she can get through this life without being so, I don't want to say uptight, but just without being so type A, and kind of figuring out how to just let things happen and go with the flow.
So how do you feel like she kind of changes throughout the show?
Yeah, she goes from being this really type A teenager into young adulthood in college. And you see her go through a really tough breakup. And I kind of feel like that's a pivotal moment where she realizes, love is not always lasting. It's not always faithful. And yeah, I feel like that's kind of a breaking point because she's planned everything out. And this is the first time something has really blown up and gone terribly wrong. And figuring out how to deal with the aftermath of that, this event, this trauma that sticks with her for years and years. Yeah.
I love that you said that about, the pivotal moment being something like a breakup, because, for type A personalities, we predict everything. We try to predict everything, at least, every outcome. And breakups are one of those things that you can't predict. And so that does throw people into kind of turmoil with how do you deal with something that's so unpredictable when you've tried to factor in everything into their life.
Right.
And Em, you're playing Mary.
Sure am.
So who is Mary, and how do they factor into the story of Vanities the Musical?
Yeah, Mary's kind of a rebel. She's certainly not focused on her academic pursuits in any way. She doesn't love her life in Texas, which is where they all start out. So she's kind of the first one to break away. She goes to Europe. She becomes an exhibitionist. She's really on the rebellious side of things as opposed to her other two friends. And some of it's cool, and some of it she ends up regretting. So it's interesting to watch her go through all the years.
Sure.
And see what those choices bring her.
What's interesting is that, Carolina kind of said about how her character kind of feels on the outside, but your character is kind of pushing towards the outside, kind of completely breaking away from the other two.
Yeah. And it comes from I think she's got a lot of shame going on, a lot of stuff that she's not ready to face, which is interesting culturally for the time period. A lot of people weren't doing a lot of introspective work. So instead she just kind of runs away.
What is that kind of like for you, that character journey? Like how do you grow as an actor with that? What's that journey for you?
It's interesting. I haven't played a character that spans this long of an age range. We all go from like 17 to 44. And I've done a 10-year gap, but that's a big one. So
Sure.
It's how does this character move when they're young? How does this character move once they're older? How do they speak? How do they relate to the people around them? It's a big one. And it's weird for me because I went to school here. So I'm like in the area where I was when I was 18 years old. And now it's 10 years later. And I can feel those differences. But then as playing this character, I need to go even further.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an exploration, and I'm still in it. And I think the three of us are all still figuring out where these characters go.
for all of you, like as you're developing these characters, you kind of you have the script, you have like the source material, but how you mentioned about kind of developing as you go. How do you develop these characters, and like how do you make them kind of your own? And Carolyn, we'll kind of start with you with this one. How do you develop Joanne compared to what's on the script?
Yeah. I feel like when I read it at first, I connected so much to her just personality wise. I was like, oh, like that is something that I see for myself. And I like, there's aspects of her that I was like, wow, I totally connect to her. And we honestly are working with a fantastic director. We're working with Travis, and he truly, he is amazing. And this, I will say, like, this role has been, for me, it's been kind of tricky because I'm on the younger end. So I connect way more to high school and college age Joanne, where late 20s, early, and later on, I don't know. And I'm pulling from people, like I asked my mom, like, what, like I'm working on trying to figure that out, like Em was saying. And I'm just really grateful for Travis because we have gone through these scenes and he pulls out things that I would never even think about. And I feel like a lot of it is relying on everyone around me to try to like bring out the mature side of Joanne and try to find that part, just because I'm still searching for that myself in life.
Sure.
So a lot of it is doing research, watching Katherine and Em work. And well, let me tell you, both of them are incredible. And it's been an honor getting to work with them. So watching them and pulling from that and being like, okay, I'm watching how Em is doing this. I need to kind of, so it's not, I feel like for me, Joanne personality wise is so me, but trying to figure out how to be the mature and older version is really like studying my peers and taking from how they're doing things, and then kind of putting my quirky twist on it, if that kind of answers that.
It absolutely answers that. Katherine, kind of the same question for you. It's just like, how do you find the balance? How do you approach like what's in the script to also like making Kathy your own?
I think I'm gonna be a little theater nerd right now, but
Please do.
I think a lot of it has to do with creating your own backstory. Like we start out with what is on the page, and that's the information that's presented to us. But in order to like get it across in the best way possible, I feel like you need to create depth within this character. So I feel like part of my journey with this has been being able to portray this character in a way as myself, being Black, where it's like she might not have been the head cheerleader in 1963. We don't know. But it's my job to come up with that backstory of what is her family life like? Why is she wanting to be the leader? Why does she need everything to be perfect? Why does she need everything to be organized and on a list? Like what drives those qualities? And I feel like the same thing with her later on in life. She has a big change in personality, and the script doesn't tell you why, so it's my job to figure out like what the why is, and have that influence and color everything that I'm saying from the script.
So it's really like the script is the guiding force, but also there's a lot of back work where you have to kind of find out who this person is.
Yeah, definitely. And it's stuff, the audience will never hear or necessarily know, but it is a huge factor in character development, I think.
And in those moments, though, as we're watching as the audience, I'm not an actor at all, psychologist by day, reviewer by night. But like, it's the little moments when you're seeing your characters do something that, like, that there had to be some knowledge that dictates that, you're like, oh, the way that she looks in that scene, or the way she tilts her head, or like all those little moments. And so for you to do that work, it does make for that well-rounded show, How about for you? Like, do you have an approach to how you balance the script and your character?
Yeah, I mean, I do some of the nerdier stuff of like, I don't know if people have talked about the notebook of what my character says about themselves, what other people say about my character, just like script analysis stuff.
Okay.
I always find it helpful just in creating a picture. But I'm like kind of a TV freak. Like, I love TV. I always rewatch. So if there's a show that I like that's in the same time period, I do a little watch through of that. It's like I've been rewatching Mad Men to remind myself what the culture was in that time, because I think it affects it. And then you just kind of let your imagination go. Similar to what Katherine was saying. You have to answer a lot of questions, because especially in this piece, it's not day by day. You get a snapshot into different years of their life. So there's a lot of stuff that we never know what actually happened, and you got to come up with it for yourself, and that creates this well-rounded character.
I know it's probably a bad comparison, but like the way you're describing the story, I keep going back to like Yellow Jackets almost, of being like how there's like these different time periods, and you're kind of trying to have to piece together some of that middle section, even though there's no like cannibalism. So
maybe come see the show, you'll find out.
Well, I'll be there in like 2 weeks, but now I'm gonna have to read up all about it. No, so I'm gonna start with you again. Like, what drew you to this role? So, like, what made you decide, like, I have to be in the show?
Did you say me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. I was really excited by the fact that it's such a small cast. It's been a while since I've done a show that's this small of a cast. The last few contracts I've done has been an ensemble big show, which is fun for very different reasons. But there's a level of challenge to being on stage the whole time and bearing so much of the brunt. I mean, there's 3 people. So for the entire show, all of the songs and all the lines are split between just you 3. So there's a responsibility to that. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's been like a real brain challenge, but I've been wanting that. And I really love the trust that a small cast creates. Like, I feel so close to the 2 of you, Caroline and Katherine, already, and hasn't even been 2 weeks. Just because we've gotten to play and be so creative together, there's a lot of joy to it. Sorry, my dog is growling. Ignore him.
We'll take it out with background noise. It's fine. I didn't realize it was such a small cast, because usually, we see at least, I want to say the least I've seen at Meadow Brook is like 5 people, but this is, all 3 of you are just like, the whole show's on your shoulders. Is there pressure to that, Carolyn?
Oh, a ton of pressure. A ton of pressure. For me, I will say this is a show that's totally out of my comfort zone. Totally out of my comfort zone. And when I was approached about this show, I was a little like, I'm not sure. I don't know. But it has truly been the biggest gift, because, like Em was saying, you have to work. You have to figure it out. You're not going off stage. There's nothing like, you have to work with your scene partners and you have to figure it out. And you have to go on the journey. You just got to allow yourself to do the jumps, with this show. But like I was saying, this is totally out of my comfort zone. I just got done doing Footloose at Meadow Brook. And so going from that big of a cast with such a crazy age range, because it was the collaboration with Oakland University. And so going from that, where I was in the ensemble doing all the dancing stuff, to now being in this small of a cast, and it's so intimate, and we're sitting and going through everything and really figuring out who these people are. It's a huge challenge, and it's every day I come home and I'm like, wow, okay, there's a lot that I've had a lot to think about today, and a lot of different things being thrown,
Yeah, Footloose was
it's really
huge
cool.
compared to this.
Yeah, I think we had there was 20 plus people maybe in it. It was crazy. So this feels very, I keep saying, I feel very naked in this show. I feel very I'm standing there and it's just us out there. There's no one else to rely on to come in. We keep joking that this show's actually been kind of hard to memorize just because we jump from so many different topics and we bring up boyfriends, then we bring up sororities, and we bring up so many different things, and it's hard because we're the ones who have to come up with those ideas and
Sure.
just remember, okay, now we're going to jump to this topic. There's no one who comes in and brings in a new energy. It's just us. So it's been a huge challenge, especially for me. So I'm super excited.
So, Catherine, what drew you to this role?
What's my you to this role?
What drew you? Sorry.
Oh, okay. Now I understand.
The other question made no sense.
I was like,
Thank you for trying to roll with that anyways.
What drew me to this role? Honestly, I am kind of a person who, I want to say that I go with the flow, but I have my little, for lack of a better term, OCD isms, which does help me relate to Kathy. Sometimes I'm like, well, yeah, of course, this is what she wants because that's what makes sense. Me as Catherine thinking that. But I feel like the challenge is that I've never seen myself as the leader of any group. And so having to be the character who really takes charge, at least during the first half of the show, and runs things and tells the girls what to do and what is cool, what is not, who's cool, who's not. It's a little bit of a challenge for me, especially in the way that Caroline was describing, that there's nobody else out there but us. And the fact that she's a leader kind of means, or at least it comes off as that means she's the one who's starting each scene. She's starting each dialogue. She's like, okay, we've got to have another plan. Okay, now we're going to do this. Now we're going to do that. And so back to what Caroline was saying, it's been a bit of a challenge to memorize all of this because I'm usually the one who starts the conversation. So if I don't have it, then it's like, oh no, where do we go from here?
The train is no longer on the tracks.
Yeah. And that's not the whole show, but yeah, definitely the first half, until she has that change in her personality, I guess, kind of.
Would you say that's how the show's challenged you the most as an actor? Is just all the memorization for starting off the show, the scenes?
The biggest challenge, yeah, honestly, I would say it has been the biggest challenge so far. It's not one that I feel afraid of. I know that I can memorize lines. I've had a lot of lines to learn before in a show,
Sure.
But it's we're doing a lot of work outside of rehearsals. Yeah, there are some shows where it's okay, I got this. I don't need to necessarily drill things on my own. But this one, before this call, I was running lines with myself for about an hour.
Oh, wow.
Trying to really memorize this third scene of the show. And yeah, it just takes a lot of work. And for me, I'm not a dancer either. So there's not super, super intense dancing, but there's a lot of movement in this show. And so that has been a bit of a challenge for me. But again, I'm just no, I'll have it. I know that I'll have it. It's just a journey. It's just, practice makes perfect.
Absolutely. 10,000 hours, right?
Yeah.
How has this show challenged you as an actor?
I already talked about the age thing, but that has really been, it's tough because like Caroline was saying, we don't leave the stage. And if we do, it's for maybe a couple minutes. So to have to sort of reset while you're still on stage and travel 4 years, then 8 years, then I think the next jump is like 14. That's tough. That's tough to remain the same person and hop through big life changes. And it's feeling a little weird for me just at the age that I'm at now. I'm like smack dab in the middle of this character's journey. And so it's hard to visualize the future.
Sure.
Yeah. It's been fun. It's been good, but it's got my noggin going. A big theme in the I mean, it's called Vanities. So a big theme is how they see themselves and how they create like an image for themselves and how they present. And that's interesting too. You know, in this year, 2025, image is so huge. And yeah, so there's just a lot swirling with all of that. As these characters grow, how do they see themselves? And how do I see myself as this character on stage in front of people? You know?
Absolutely. Totally understandable. So for all three of you, we talked about a lot of the story, but we haven't really talked about the music part of it, and this is a musical. Yeah. So how do we feel like the music enhances the story? Like how does it kind of further the storyline, or how does it just make that picture kind of more well-rounded?
Well, it's informed by the time period as we jump through.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, it's more like, it's like 60s poppy music, and it feels young the way these characters are.
Sure.
And then when you get into the 70s, it's a little bit more groovy. It's all really fun. A lot of earworms, I'll say. I think that it's very catchy, very boppy music. So that's been really fun.
I mean, that's the best part about it, is like when you want people to walk away with that music stuck in their ear.
Yeah, I feel like not necessarily every single song, because some of the songs are just about togetherness, I would say. But a lot of the songs are storytelling songs. So they're pretty pertinent to the show because, you know, like we're still continuing the storyline and explaining stuff that's going on in these girls' lives. And so I would say the songs are pretty important in this musical. Hopefully you would hope they are for any musical. But for this one especially, I feel like you would not have a storyline if it weren't for the music in this one.
Caroline, would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, exactly what they were saying. It's super cute. And I think if you're a musical theater nerd, Vanities you don't really hear a lot of. But I know for me, I didn't really know about Vanities before coming in to this show, but I did know 2 of the songs, and it's what Mary and Kathy both sang. Cute Boys with Short Haircuts and Fly into the Future. Right? That I always want to say Back to the Future, but it's not.
Wrong
I don't
show.
know why. But I, as a girl who's been a part of the musical theater community, like I have heard those songs, and I did know that they were from Vanities. But I will say, like, walking away from this whole thing, I'm walking away with so many bops. I'm like, Joanne has a cute song too that's really fun to sing. There's a lot of great music, and it's been a challenge because we're singing the whole time, and while we're also doing these, while we're making these time jumps, we're not leaving the stage, and we're singing through them, and we're changing while singing and growing up at the same time. So there's so many challenges within this show. It's really a beautiful show.
That sounds like a lot of acrobatics almost, like trying to keep going.
It's crazy. Cool though.
I could never. No. So with this, so Vanities is based off of a play, which is described as like a comedy drama. How do we feel like the tones are balanced in this show? Do you feel like it's a little more drama, a little more comedy? Do you feel like it's a little bit of both?
I think it's both. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're bound to have some drama in, well, really any relationship. Um, but with a group of three, especially, I can say from personal experience, sometimes things get a little bit tricky. Um,
Sure.
but there's a lot of comedy in the show as well, I think. And it's what I like is that it's just like their age range span. It's jokes for everybody, it feels like.
Hmm.
Um, so I feel like some stuff is kind of era specific, that certain demographic of the audience is going to understand more than others. And then kind of the same as it evolves. Um, yeah, I feel like the comedy goes with the time changes, which is cool.
As an actor, Catherine, do you find yourself ever like leaning into the comedy of those scenes? Like especially as the audience is there, do you kind of shift into that a little bit?
Oh yeah, totally. It's rare that I get to play a role that's funny, but I can think of one in particular from my past where it's just like it's rewarding because I don't want to say it's harder, but in some ways it's harder than just playing like a dramatic role, um, because timing of lines and timing of laughs is a whole nother element to doing anything that's funny. Um,
Sure.
and the satisfaction of when it lands is just very fulfilling as an actor. Um, but knowing the line between like doing too much and losing the joke versus doing this like it's real life, um, and just having the scenario be funny.
Sure. The finding that balance for yourself and not letting the audience dictate all of that.
Right. And like, yeah, as a kid, I loved to just ham it up. And I have to kind of draw a little bit of that back sometimes.
How about for you? Do you ever lean into the comedy aspect, especially as the audience is reacting to it?
Yeah, I mean, I try to. We're so lucky with Travis. He's, Meadowbrook loves a comedy and Travis loves a comedy. He loves to laugh. So he does a really good job of orchestrating the moments that we know are going to get a laugh. The straight up punchlines in the script are delivered as so. So that's fun. There's also you can't rely on an audience laugh because nothing feels worse than thinking you're going to get a laugh and then not getting it. That's
Sure.
the thing that's harder than drama, because if a dramatic moment doesn't land, you don't really know. But if a comedic moment doesn't land, you know, and it feels horrible. Um, so it's just about like rehearsing and trusting that you've crafted a good show
Sure.
without begging the audience for it, you know?
Absolutely. Caroline, how about for you? Do you ever lean into it?
Oh, totally. Especially with Joanne. She randomly will say the most random things at the most random time that honestly would be so painful for anyone in real life. And that's just kind of the beauty of her. So yeah, like they were both saying, we have to lean into it with this show, especially because there's so much growth that does happen, especially at the beginning. Um, you just have to be lighthearted and have a good time, because that's when all the jokes come out. And as we age, there's less moments of like, this is a joke, and more of like just cute like just cute moments. So
How do you find yourself getting into the mindset of Joanne? Like, do you have a specific routine to kind of becoming her?
I don't want to say I feel like, I don't know. I don't want to say like I feel like I'm Joanne, but I feel like so many things connect, and I feel like energy wise, I kind of sit in that like, oh, quirky, like kind of loud energy that she kind of has. Um, Before we start every time, I I don't know. I really try to just like, I really try to get into the moment right before of like taking a deep breath and like, okay, like you're about to kind of go on a roller coaster of this whole thing. And I think what's challenging with that is we start young. So it is kind of like you have to like keep the energy lifted. Um, I don't, I mean, I've also, like they were both saying, done the scene work of writing down Joanne and like what her subtext is through all of this, and how she would see things, and kind of where her little brain is at the beginning, and her little brain even when she's in her 30s, you know, and how having truth like change her. But I have to say before we start, I'm just right now I'm at least trying to get the energy going, because there's a lot to give with her. So I don't have a specific thing that I do right at the beginning, but just kind of be and let her kind of take over. Yeah.
Catherine, how about for you? Do you have anything specific you do to get into the mind of Kathy?
My first thought was go over my lines.
Which fits with the character.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Perfect answer.
Try to be as prepared as possible, but also like what Caroline said, they do start out pretty young. So despite only having run the show in its entirety twice now, I think, yeah, I'm the eldest of the group in real life. And so it's not like it's super hard to identify with my younger self, but there is a different energy that we need to bring to these 18-year-olds who are boy crazy and college crazy and cheerleading crazy. And yeah, everything is just so fast and so new. And
so
yeah.
dramatic too.
Right. Yeah, very much.
We all remember what it was like being teenagers. It's a tough life.
It is a tough life.
How about for you? Is there anything specific that you do to get into the mindset?
I haven't found it yet. For
Okay.
most shows, I end up with like a routine that I'll do beforehand, a little physical vocal warm up, of course. Oh my gosh, especially this show. Sure. But I usually find something that I do every time. So I'm still figuring that one out for Mary.
And you still have plenty of time, so that's the best part, you know?
Yeah.
Are there any themes that resonate from Vanities the Musical that resonate with you the most?
You go, Catherine, you go.
Okay.
I see you ready.
Yes. There are themes that resonate with me a lot, honestly. I did have a friend group of 3 girls growing up in high school. And even in middle school, actually, there were different girls, but there was the dynamic of one person feeling left out, feeling like 2 of the girls were better friends. And I don't want to get too too real, but kind of similar to this story. One of my friends wound up kind of being an alcoholic, and which is a theme that we deal with in this show, and kind of drifted away, and things change and people change, and your tolerance for drama changes, and it doesn't always work out in the way that you foresee it working out when you're 16 and 18. But knowing that that's okay, and accepting people for who they are, and not taking away from the good times and all of the special things that we used to bond over. It's unfortunate, but it doesn't mean that it's bad for everybody at the same time. Yeah.
I love that. Caroline, how about for you? Which themes really kind of resonate with you?
That was so beautifully said. That was so beautifully said.
You're like, don't make me follow up that.
I know. I was like, wow, that was, but no, truly, like, just friendship and change and accepting change and accepting that everyone's going through something in life. You know, everyone has the baggage that they bring into relationships. Everyone has something that they're going through, some type of mind game that they're dealing with, and understanding that, like, you're not alone and you can rely on people is really beautiful about this show. And Katherine just said it so nicely. I truly, like, it was, yeah, that's kind of,
it was beautiful. Absolutely.
I'm like, that's exactly, amen.
How about for you?
Yeah, the friendship themes I definitely relate to. Like I said, I'm in the middle of the age groups of these characters and seeing how they change from age 18. You know, I'm so lucky to still have friends that I've had from high school, but things shift, so I certainly relate to that. Like I said, the theme of image, I think it's so interesting in 2025, the age of Ozempic and filler and all these and social media where you're posting pictures of yourself all the time, and TikTok where content creation is now a part of every job somehow. Whereas these characters, the image theme is completely different because they didn't have those things. I'm finding that very fascinating throughout.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
You're right. It is very interesting to reflect it on kind of our society today.
Yeah. Yeah, how we grow versus how these girls grew. And how that changes friendship dynamics as well. Because these characters, you can disappear from a friend for 10 years and never see them again because you need to look them up in the phone book. Whereas now, you still see them. They're still going to pop up in your suggested posts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're kind of stuck with them no matter what.
Sort of.
Yeah. Last question for all of you. And Katherine, we'll start with you. It's just, what are you hoping audiences take away from Vanities the Musical?
I hope that they take away, I haven't thought about this yet, so bear with me, please.
It's okay.
I hope that they take away the sentiment of course, of lasting friendships and relationships. The fact that so much can change and so much can bring you back around. You know, there's infinite possibility in relationships, I feel. Like, even referencing back to what I'd said before with my friend group, I still am in a point or in a place where I'm like, look, people change and come back around in your life in cycles sometimes. And I think that that's beautiful, honestly. Having all of this groundwork with my friend who I'm kind of somewhat estranged from, to me, I'm just like, that is still valid. That still means a lot. And you're like, you've changed in a lot of ways, but the foundation is still the same. And I think, yeah, just being open to your relationships growing and blossoming along the journey of ups and downs and how things work themselves out or sometimes don't, and just the beauty of that, honestly.
Okay. How about for you? What are you hoping audiences take away from this?
I think it's a similar answer. I think I want them to take away the idea of acceptance, of accepting yourself, accepting your chosen family, and letting go. I mean, you'll see it if you see the show. It's the last song of the show. It's called Letting Go. And I think it's actually kind of a beautiful idea of letting go of the things that felt really important at the beginning of your life and caused such drama. And instead choosing love. It sounds cheesy again, but yeah, acceptance.
I mean, there's a level of cheese with everything we do here, right? So
It's true. It's musical theater.
Right.
It is what it is.
Caroline, how about for you? What are you hoping audiences take away?
Exactly that. Just live, reflect, and accept, honestly. I think it's, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, all three of you, for being here and for talking with me. I greatly appreciate it.
It was such a fun time.
Thank you.
Vanities the Musical runs from March 19th through April 13th, so get your tickets now from Meadow Brook Theater's website.
Yay!